3, 2, 1 type of thing. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael. I'm the customer success lead at Xano. And Christina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Christina. I am product designer at Bravo Studio.
And we're really excited to announce this new video series that's going to sort of showcase one of Bravo Studio's newest sort of community features, which is Bravo Buddies, where we really want to show the collaboration of people in the no-code community, where maybe you have people who are like designers and also people who maybe are more technical, so they can kind of come together and use different tools such as Bravo Studio, maybe on the UI and front end side, and Xano on the back end to power your logic to bring your guys' ideas to life. And we're going to kick off this video series with a rental marketplace example similar to Airbnb. And we're going to go ahead and walk you guys through just how we're going to think about this. Christina is going to talk about how she wants to set up the pages on the front end in the UI in Bravo Studio in the design. And then I'll talk about thinking through the different components you might need in the back end. And then we'll go ahead and come back together and actually basically bind the back end and front end together and show a completed application.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something I want to highlight for the Bravo Buddy, as Michael mentioned, is that exactly what, well, you've covered it all, the huge benefit that we see with Bravo is the flexibility of connecting to any backend that suits your needs. And then in this case, for the app that we want to create, Xano is a perfect solution to handle what we'll later on go through all the features that we are thinking about to put in this app. And then, so in the case of Bravo Buddy, you can expand really your knowledge and your expertise to work on this app with multiple people. So like someone like Michael, who's quite technical and can set up the back end, and then maybe you can get a designer, or if you're the designer, and you can do all the creativity that you want for the front end.
Awesome. And go for it.
I was going to say, so we can, shall we start with what are the main features that we want to put in this app?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first component, obviously, you're going to have users come into this rental marketplace application. So they're going to need to be able to sign up and log in. So another word for that is authentication.
Right.
Additionally, we're going to have a list of different properties for the user to choose from as if they're booking a trip. So we'll need a list view of different listings or properties that the user can search from. Christina, do you want to?
And then, yeah, so imagine the user flow of an app user after they sign in or log into the app. I think we all expect to see this list of listings, and then as a user, I would probably click on the listing that interests me and then see the detail page of everything about the listing. So probably multiple photos, and that we can put in a slider that the user can slide through. We have the title, we have the location, we have the description of the property, probably very important, price per night, and of course a reservation button. And then some extra things that we can add are just other additional information about the place itself or the surroundings. So for example, we could probably connect a weather API into this detail page.
Because I always like to see the weather of a place I'm going so I know what to pack. So let's do that. Let's connect it with a weather API so Xano can hit an external API, and we'll push it through the API to be displayed on that page. And then we also want to do a search when we're on that big listings view, so we can maybe search through things like maybe location, property type, description, things like that.
Yeah, perfect. And yes, so you mentioned, all the properties about that property. all the characteristics and probably even search through the keywords of the description, like beach or loft, or location, like you said. And then, so that covers, I would say, the main searching functionality and browsing functionality of the app. So now continuing this user flow, so the user finds a listing that they're interested in and they want to reserve. So after they click the reserve button in the detail page of the listing, we would take them to a reservation form. And I think the main thing to put in that would be the start and end date of their reservation, and optionally how many guests they want. Thinking from, like, let's say the host side, that's something that they probably want to know.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the user, let's do that. When they go ahead and reserve a place, they'll put in a form with the dates to check in and check out. And that way we can go ahead and figure out how many nights they're going to stay and apply that to multiply it by the price. So we can actually come out with a calculation of how much they're going to owe for their stay. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. And then in this case, also, since the user has logged in or signed up already beforehand, before all of this, there's no need for them to put in their personal information, like with every single reservation form, because that's all included when they logged in.
Exactly. So when the user logs in, they'll be given an authentication token, and within that authentication token is encrypted their unique user ID. So each endpoint will have set up to be require authentication, meaning that authentication token will be needed to actually run the endpoint. So we'll know exactly which user is who. So we won't need them to put in their name and stuff like that we'll already have those details.
Okay, sounds good. So then that finishes off the making a reservation step of the user journey. So after the user has put in their dates, and then they see the overview, okay, you're staying this many nights, it's from these dates, and this is the place you're going to stay, and this is the total price you're going to pay. They reserve, and then they should be led to the page that shows their reservation. So another list page similar to the listing page, but in this case, it's only the listings that they have reserved.
Yes. Yeah. So then we'll show like you said, a listing page just of what they've booked, what they've reserved, unique to them. And we'll make sure to do some kind of order so they see what their next upcoming trip is. So, if I have one next week and then one in 2 months, I'll see the one next week first, and then the one in 2 months will come second.
Mm-hmm. And then in that page, we can also add a search bar in case that they have many reservations coming up, and then they can search through. And that can be easily done with a Bravo tag. Awesome. And then, and I also imagine if they click on on this listing page, it would be very similar to the original listing page, but then it will show information specific to their reservation. So I would display the start and end date of their reservation. And then when they click on the listing, the reservation itself, it opens a detail page that's also similar to what they see when they were just browsing. But then the difference would be there's a contact host button, so that now they're able to contact the host, whether by email or phone. In this case, I think we'll just do email to showcase how it works. And so that can be like an additional feature, like, okay, this is only after you have reserved can you contact the host, which is how these things normally work.
Right. No, exactly. No, that'll be an important feature, because as we build this, I think the first side, right, will sort of be the side from the user booking the place, but then kind of part two will be, we need to build in the second part of the two-sided marketplace, which is that host part. So we're going to have that kind of connection there. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then I believe that is the main functionalities, I would say the last part that we can add to this app is the profile page. So that would be the standard page that shows user information like email, maybe name, maybe a profile picture, any services and terms of conditions, and then of course a logout button for when they want to log out.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I think this rental marketplace is going to be pretty cool. So it's off to a good start. Absolutely. Do we want to just kind of give a little high level discussion on what each of us are going to talk about in our parts in terms of back end and front end? So cool.
Perfect. So I'll start. So from my side, you'll later see me going through a Figma design. I will also already have the design ready, so we don't go over the painstakingly many minutes that a designer normally takes to make sure every single pixel is perfect. We'll have the design ready. And the main thing that I'll focus on is how to make the Figma file Bravo ready. So that includes where do you put and how do you put Bravo tags? What are Bravo tags? How do you create containers that are Bravo specific so that each page works when you import it into Bravo, and then how the other additional features like states and loading pages, how do we configure that? So that's what I'll go over on my side.
Awesome. Yeah, and then from the Xano and Backend side, the first thing that we're going to kind of think about and want to basically design or model will be the database, because the database is what we like to say the heart of your application. So we're going to think about things like what are the higher entities of your database. For example, we'll have things like users, listings, and reservations. And then we'll look at how to translate that. Those will sort of be our tables. We'll go into how to build those tables. And then any relationships we might need between those tables. And then we're going to kind of think about it from a logic and API point of view. So, what functionality basically to power these different pages and these different things, such as the listings view, the search through the different components or like location description of a place. So how do we search through all that? And then how do we show just, the data of a single listing when someone clicks on it? And then how do we pull in that external API to show the weather of the city of that listing, so we know what to pack, what kind of clothes, right? And then we'll go through just the logic of actually booking a place, making a reservation, and all those components that are basically going to power these pages on the front end. So I think you guys will learn a lot from both sides of this. So we're definitely really excited to showcase this, and really excited for this partnership. So
yeah. Okay, great. So the next part will be, we'll probably jump to me doing the setting up the Figma file.
Awesome. And then after that, you'll see me go through setting up the back end, everything I just mentioned, and
then we'll join back together for the data binding, the setting up the request in Bravo Studio, and then bind the data, connect the data to the UI.
Yes, and then showcase the final product and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, Christina, thank you, and I'll see you at the binding part.
Yep. See you. Hey guys, so let's go over how to set up the front end or UI or design of this rental marketplace app. As you can see in the Figma screen I have here, I've designed all the app pages I will be using for the app. And the next thing that we do before we create an app project in Bravo is to Bravorize or make this Figma file or Adobe XD compatible with Bravo, so it's importable and all the Bravo functionalities work. Often when we first start with Bravo, you'll want to find any design file you have on hand and try to create a project with it. But then you'll realize that the app in Bravo doesn't look exactly like how you've designed them or work like how you imagined. And that's because we need to do some setup steps beforehand. So this is what I'll show you now. So let's start with the first few screens of the app. Now the steps to Bravorize a design file are the following. First, you add Bravo tags to the layer names. Second, you create containers on each app page. And third, you add the page links so that you can navigate within your app. And Bravo tags are these text strings that you see here that we will add to the layer names of your Figma file. And they afterwards, it will turn into native mobile functions in Bravo. And normally how we add Bravo tag is to go from the innermost layers to the outermost. And what I mean by innermost to outermost is, let's go to this intro page. You can see that I have 3 levels. The first is the page level. The second is a container level, which I will explain later. And the third and below are the visual elements, the UI elements, the buttons, the text, the images. So this is the innermost, the third, and going forward. And what we want to do as best practice is when adding Bravo tags is to add them from the inside outward. So let's do that with the sign up page. So here I have a list of Bravo tags I will use, and how you would know which Bravo tags to use when you are designing an app is through getting familiar and creating with Bravo. The more you create, the more Bravo tags you'll know and recognize, and then that's how you know, okay, I can't put a email input field tag here. I can put a password input field tag here, and I can put a submit action button here. So that's what we'll do now. So I will just go ahead and copy this input email tag from my email layer. And this is compatible with a text box layer. Same thing with the input password. And then the submit action button. And what this will do is submit into our backend or our database what the user have input into these 2 fields. Then the second part is a container tag. So how we go about creating containers, which is the second step of Bravorizing, is to look at your app page and see if there's going to be any difference in behavior in this page. Now this might sound vague, but we'll see at a later step when a app page has different behaviors. In this case, in this first case for the sign up, all of this will stay static, the design itself. So we will put a container, which is created using a frame around the entire design. And we have to make sure the important thing about a container is that it contains. So you have to make sure that all the UI elements within your container is inside this level, the second level container frame. And then we'll just add the container tag into this layer. And that is it for this page. So the sign up page is Bravorized. And normally what I would do in a typical workflow when designing for Bravo is rather than designing all the pages at once and then going in and adding in the Bravo stuff, I would design one, and knowing that, like, let's say in this case, I know I will create a login page which will look pretty similar to the sign-up page. I'll have pretty much the same functionalities as the sign-up page. I will create the sign-up page first, Bravorize it, and then simply duplicate it so that it includes the container already, includes the tags already, and just change the UI that way. So in that case, if we did it this way, the login page will have a similar setup with the same Bravo tags. And how we actually add the functionality of when the user is on this page, they actually sign up versus if they actually log in this page, it's done later with the data requests and that we'll create to connect to Xano. And then the intro page is also the same, pretty basic. You just have a container tag that is needed for this. So let's move on to the next part. So after the user logs in, they see the list of properties that is available in this marketplace. And this page will have a few different behaviors. So for example, how I imagine it is that this top part will stay static, but then the area around the list item, it will duplicate itself when we connect to data. So that would be a different behavior. So we'll put this area in a container. And then the menu here, the menu design, it will stay in place as a sticky layer as the user scrolls up the list. This will not move, but stays right at the bottom of the screen. So that is another behavior. So how we will separate them is with containers. So with the frame tool, and how you create a container in Adobe XD is slightly different. So check out our documentation and tutorial for how to set up containers in Adobe XD. So that is sectioned off, and we see that here it contains these two elements. Then I will add another one here to contain the list item. And we have to make sure that the container actually contains the UI elements that it encompasses. So here, let's select these UI and put them into this container, like so. And then the last part is the menu. And that should be contained. Perfect. And often what I would like to do is to collapse the second level layers to make sure that there are no UI elements that are escaping and they're on the same layers. You want all the UI elements to be within each container. So let's go ahead and add the Bravo tags. As I mentioned before, we want to start often with the UI elements first, and then we work our way upwards. So the first one would be Action Remote. This one we want to put in the profile icon. And what this will do is to trigger later API requests when the user taps on the profile. And the API request that we want to trigger later is to retrieve the information about their profile. And then we have a component SVG tag. This helps any vector or icons to make sure that they look as it is designed in the design file. So I have this search magnifying glass, which is a vector. So I will add it on this layer. And then these three belongs in the container level. So let's go to the container level. Let's collapse these and name them. So this one is the top bar, and we'll add the top bar Bravo tag. The second one is just a regular container, but we'll call it list item. And the third is the sticky layer tag, and we'll call it menu. And there we go. This page is Bravorized. Let's move on to the detail page. So when the user taps on a listing that they're interested in and they want to see all the information, they will open a different page with all the details. Now, same thing as here. We want to separate the page by differences of behavior. Before we do that though, let's go ahead and add in the Bravo tags for the innermost layers. So I know that these 3 goes into the UI elements. So Flexo is a tag that allows a text box to be flexible according to the data it will display. So the description of each listing might be 2 pages, might be 5 paragraphs, or it might be 2 lines. So we want this, so we added this tag so that it expands according to how much data it's actually displaying. Then we have action go back, which is this close button, and we'll add it here. And this is the action to go back to the previous page. And actually this one is a page level Bravo tag, so we'll add that last. Then the second step is the container Bravo tags. But before we can add these Bravo tags for the container, we need to create the containers themselves. So let's look at this page. The first container is this top part. Just like here, we want this back button, close button to be static. But then we want to show a carousel of images that will slide horizontally. So this is another behavior. This is a different behavior. And below is all the description and information about the listing. So, and that will stay static. So this is another section. And then we have, lastly, we have this bottom bar with a reserve button. We also want this to be like the menu where it's sticky and stays at the bottom of the screen, even if the description is really long. So let's create the containers. And when you create the containers, you want to make sure that they touch each other border by border, as well as touching exactly the edge of the screen, and that they contain, as we mentioned, all the elements. That's the second one. And then of course, always make sure that the UI elements within is actually inside the frame. The third container here, make sure it touches the border, making sure it contains all the elements. And then the last container is this bottom bar. And it contains all the layers. Okay, and the same thing as we did for the listing page. I will go ahead and name them. So this is reserve bar. This one is the top bar. This one is the image slider. And this one is the listing description. And now we'll add these Bravo tags to their respective container. I'm going to move this one here. Image slider, that is the slider horizontal tag. The description belongs to a regular layer, a regular container. And then we have the layer tag for a sticky layer. Then the last tag to add is this transition tag, which will add a transition animation when you open this page, when you navigate to this page. I want this page to move upwards from the screen, from the bottom of the screen. So we'll add that here. And here we have it. So this page is Bravorized. So the next few pages are already Bravorized, but I'll just point out how they are done. But you can already see that we're using often repeating containers or repeating tags because, for example, the back arrow will always have the action go back. In my design, I will always want to have a top bar that stays static. And then the input fields we've seen with the login and sign up, but in this case, it's a different type of input. It's a date picker and a number picker. This next page will show an overview of the user's reservation, and it has the same container setup as the previous form page. Then after the user reserves the listing that they want, they will be taken to a My Trips page that will show the list of their reservations. And as you can see here, it's basically the same setup as the original properties listings page and the detail page. So in this case, I would just duplicate these after they've been Bravorized and create a My Reservations list page and a My Reservation detail page, which is pretty much displaying the same thing, except instead of a reserve button, they have a contact host button. And this contact host button has a email action so that when the user clicks on the email action, and we're going to add it right here, it will pop up the native email app in your phone to send the host a email. And you can also add a phone number action to call a phone number, or you can open up a social media page with open URL. So there's a few options that you can do with the Bravo tags. And then afterwards, the next functionality we want to add is a global search functionality. And this will be connected to the search icon that we have on the homes page. And here, also same setup as what we've seen previously with the reserve form and the login form, with a text input, a action submit, and top bar, and another container containing this search bar. And the results page, also very similar to the My Trips and the homes listings page. So I basically just copied the same setup, except I added a go back button here. And then the last part is the profile page, which is pretty simple with a static information and a sticky layer menu. And then after we have created these or Bravorized these main pages, then there's a few extra things that we need to add to our design file. So the next things that you should add are an app icon and a splash screen. The app icon, also similarly, you just add the tag on top. Same thing with splash screen, you add it to the page level. And where this will show will be in your Bravo projects list. So in this example, we have my list of projects. Some without the app icon will show up like this, but others, if you have added an app icon, they will replace the app icon in your projects list. And the splash screen, you will see it in your final published app. So the splash screen is a screen that the user will see while your app is loading. But another usage of the splash screen for Bravo is that it allows Bravos to have a default page size, so that if your other pages have different sizes, for example, in this case, we have all the same size, but in the case if your app page is super long and another one is shorter than the default page screen size, then Bravo can use the splash screen to calculate accordingly and making sure that all your UI elements turn out and show up correctly. And then the last part are states. So one of the states of your app while your user is scrolling through it is the loading state. So when they click from one page to another and the app is loading the content, rather than just being stuck on the same page, you want some sort of feedback to the users that, okay, my app is loading. So I've added a custom loading page here with, you just need this Bravo tag on the page level so that whenever the app is loading, it will have this animation, which is a Lottie animation. And if you use the Lottie Figma plugin and you add a Lottie file straight to your Figma, they actually already have the Bravo tag included in their layer name. And then the last part are the states of the UI elements if you want to add them. So in this case, I've created different states for the different buttons I have in the app. And the two differences is that one is default and one is pressed. So what does the button look like when the user's finger is holding it? And this you would normally add as the last steps of your Bravorizing. And then you would copy these components instances and add them to the screens themselves. So in this case, you see that I already have this added, the default state, and below the press state. And for more information on how to create states, you can check out our tutorial and documentation. So we have the Bravo tags, we have the containers. The last part is the prototyping links or the page links that will help your users navigate and for you to navigate throughout your app. And as you can see here, I've already added the different page links and from which button goes to which button. So in this case, I have these three linked this way, these linked and to their respective layers and pages. After you've done all of these, and make sure always to have your starting frame of your flow either on the first page of your app or on the home screen. So there are different cases where the starting frame will not always be on the first screen of your app. And for those, our documentation will also tell you how to set those up. So now that we have our Figma file Bravorize, it's time to import it into Bravo to create an app project. And how we do that is we grab the link to your Figma file, go into your Bravo, and copy and paste the Figma link into this page. Or if you're using Adobe XD, you would need to download the Bravo plugin for Adobe XD and create a project that way. And here we have it. Now we have created an app project with our design file, and the next step would be to create data requests in our data library and bind the data we get from our backend, in this case Xano, to each of the screens to make everything fully functional.